So thanks for joining in with me today. Today we're going to be doing my own Jeremy Riggin take on a draw board. So this is the stuff I'm going to be using to piece this all together. I'm going to start off, I have this winch. I don't even know what I had that from, but I've had it for a long time. Just been sitting collecting dust, so I thought I'd just use that. I picked up a thing of 550 paracord. And I picked up this turnbuckle from the local hardware store. The only other thing I did, just because I had access, I turned up this little plug. That's going to be my handle. And then I had a piece of leather. I burned my logo into it for my woodworking stuff. So I burned that logo into it and just kind of wrapped this so that way it has some cushion. But I made that as a handle that'll be attached into this frame. So we'll just go over the steps into making this. Is pretty simple. So we're just going to bolt this thing. I have this piece of, I don't know what you want to call it, erector set. It's 6 feet long. That's what I'm going to start off with. I'm not sure that it needs to be quite that long, but that's what I'm starting off with anyway. So we're going to bolt this winch down to it. And then on the other end of my draw board, I'm going to put this handle that I made. Like I said, it's a little overkill. It doesn't have to be like this, but I have access to it, so we made it. And I think that I'm going to end up cutting a lot of this. Sorry, you probably can't even see what I'm doing. I think I'll end up cutting a lot of this off, but we'll start off here. And I've always got room to go a little longer and a little shorter, obviously. I do want to make it long enough so that I can put a scale on there. Not that I'm too worried about it. Like, I don't really care what the poundage is. The poundage is what it is. I don't think it makes much of a difference. If I can pull it back and I'm comfortable shooting it, that's where I'm at. I don't even know what my poundage is, or do I care? But I'll have the option to if I want to. And then I'm sure someone's going to not like this, but I'm going to be using 550 paracord. In theory, 550 paracord is meant to hold 550 pounds. Of course, no one wants to take claim on anything, so this says it'll hold 110 pounds, safe working load. So it should have no problem pulling back, even if I'm maxed out at my bow at 70 pounds. So I'm not worried about that. Like I said, I'm a cheapskate. That's what I went with. I wasn't going to buy a whole bunch of nylon strapping or anything like that. So I've got my 550 paracord tied around this thing. I'm sure there's a better knot out there. I'm sure my brother-in-law on the Coast Guard would tell me I should use some sort of other fancy knot, but I'm not a Boy Scout or a sailor, so I just tied a few knots on there. And basically, I'm going to wrap this thing around several times just so I've got plenty. Actually, we're going to turn this off so we don't have to hear that clicking, and we're just going to wrap this cord around several times. I got 50 feet of it, so I don't need to be stingy. See, that's more than enough. And then on top of that, we're going to give ourselves plenty of extra. And then we'll cut it off there and we'll burn it. This end here, we're just gonna tie onto our lug, to our not lug. This is gonna be for our fine-tune adjustment. So this is my finished draw board. And a lot of people make them out of 2x6, which is totally possible to do. I happen to have this erector set stuff that I've already built my tuning stand out of. And a lot of people lay it down like this, but one advantage is I like to have it like this, so that way you can actually watch the timing of your bow as you're pulling it back and watch your arrow rest, especially if you got a drop away. And I made this thing because I don't want to have it on here all the time, but this thing will just simply slide over, and then these two bolts will just kind of slide in and hold it in place. I'm not really even bolting it because it's not going anywhere. It's locked in place. So we're going to undo this strap here, and then I'm going to hang my bow on it. And this is a neat trick that I've not seen anywhere else except for just this one archery shop on the west side of Michigan here. So it's just one of these elastic bands, bracelets that the kids wear all the time. Just set this on here and then pull this strap nice and tight around there. And that basically locks my bow in place. And it's not going to fall off the stand or anything, sitting right there. And then I can grab my turnbuckle and we're going to loop that through. I know a lot of people like to put a safety loop, probably should, but I'm not. And then we're just going to crank. And I know a lot of people like to crank with this pulled back so that way it doesn't click. But I think it's important to let that thing lock into place every click. It's just safety. If you were to slip and everything, you don't want to dry fire your bow. So leave that thing locked in. And then you're going to, as you're drawing, you're obviously going to want to watch at your cable stop or your cam stop. You don't want to over crank that thing. So when you get close, you're going to want to get it close and stop, and then use this turnbuckle here in the middle to do your fine adjustments. So that way you can crank it in a little bit farther and fine tune. You don't want to overdraw that thing. Causes a lot of stress. But at the same time, you can be watching your drop away rest, making sure that your timing is all correct. It's much easier to do when that bow is in a vertical position as opposed to horizontally. So once you're all done doing what you need to do, making any adjustments, then you're simply just going to flip this latch and then slowly let out the rest of your cable. You don't want to just let it go, you just want to go real slow. And like I said, that little rubber band is nice and handy because that's going to allow us to leave our bow just hang. So overall, nice easy build. Can be done with 2x4. You don't have to have this erector set, but like, subscribe, share it with your friends.